We are live.
Nice. All right.
How are you guys doing? How are you guys doing? Y'all, we are truly in for a treat. For real. Thank you so much for tuning
Yeah.
into another awesome, amazing podcast episode here at Brian's Place. Well, today, guess what? Guess what? A treat indeed. So, we have an awesome featured guest. Today's featured guest is a man after God's heart. He's a husband, he's a father, he's a creative innovator, he's an inspiration to the next generation. He's a worshiper. He's been keeping it 100 since before keeping it 100 was a thing. Please welcome my brother, Brandon Haskins.
What's up, B? How you doing, man? Brother indeed, man. Oh,
Yes,
we're getting
yes.
older, man. We're getting older, brother. Oh, man. Now,
Good rib sweaters in full effect.
let me explain. Look,
Yeah, yeah.
rib sweater, man. We were in there's this spoken word energy that was flowing. First off, we've known each other since church days, man. We would run around the church, worshiping, growing, all those things, man. And so we started doing the spoken word. We're on the spoken word channel, and we went to where we go.
It
It
was
was like a
Simply Sharon's in
Simply
Temecula.
Sharon's soul
Yeah.
food spot, and this dude is just doing the most. I know sometimes spoken word they get their cadences going, and he was just really feeling it. And we're just I don't know what it was. We're just sitting there just hanging out. Everybody wants to. Email feels like this dude got like a rib sweater on, man. It just I couldn't stop laughing for like 20 minutes. It just fit the moment. I just fit the moment. He was bringing it down to the fullest extent. And I was just like, get this brother up. Man, I'm not even know what's he talking about, man. Get this man a soda. Get him out of here. Get out of here. But it was good times, man. Good times. It's over the times. That was the key word, man. The trigger word.
Yes,
Yeah.
rib sweaters. Ah, that
Good
was great.
stuff.
That was great. For real.
Mhm. Most definitely. So yeah, man. So we here, man. But no, it's been good. Like the California life has been good to us, man. Just some time ago, picked up, packed up, changed states, man, and here we are, other side of the world, but still stay connected, man. Still stay connected. Glad that we
Most
stay connected
definitely.
at all times.
Most definitely. That's awesome. So on the East Coast, right? Southeast.
Southeast, something like that. Yeah, it's part of just the movement, man. Just kind of moving around, trying to
Yeah.
find different opportunities and where the opportunities, wherever God leads us, really, wherever God leads us. And truly was a testimony to get to this place, man.
Hmm.
And open some doors, build legacy for the family. And that's where it all kind of gets rooted from, man. I'll
Yeah.
dive more into that in a little bit, but it was about just kind of building legacy and going to that next phase. But
Hmm.
where we go, we kind of travel, move around, and see how things go. But right now, this is where we're at. Yeah,
That's what's up. That's what's up. Cool.
absolutely.
So just a little icebreaker. Gonna do a
Okay.
little question game.
Okay.
So right off the back, Doritos or Fritos?
Fritos.
Fritos.
Fritos. The,
Okay. Okay.
the chili cheese ones.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Doritos is the mainstream. I'm out the box, man.
Doritos is yeah.
Fritos all day. Let's go.
All right. Lemonade or Kool Aid?
Wow, how am I going to turn against Kool-Aid? How will I not show up for Kool-Aid, man?
Right. Yeah.
Depending upon who makes it. I'm gonna roll Kool-Aid. More variety. More variety. The
More
grape.
variety for real. It's
Absolutely.
real. Osley Brothers, Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Earth, Wind, and Fire. Earth, Wind,
Reasons.
Man, tell you, there it is. I would try to hit that note. But no, you know what's funny about Earth, Wind, and Fire is you rediscover a lot of music listening to them. The Ice Brothers is the same, but for me, I was just like we were driving somewhere, put on some Earth, Wind, and Fire essentials. Next thing you know, man, like you're like, oh, I didn't know they wrote that. Like it just kind of they're so embedded in the culture more than we give them credit for, man. Earth, Wind, and Fire all day.
For real. And that's the trip how you listen to the songs and you didn't know they sampled from these, so you'll be like, yeah.
Yeah. Like, wait.
That's the way of the what?
Yeah. By the way, I'm like, That's Earth,
Yeah,
Wind, and Fire. This tripped me out. I thought most
like,
Def wrote that. It's like, whoa.
yeah. I forget what song, but yeah, so many people sample. It's a
Yeah,
trip
the time, man, all time. Earth, Wind, and Fire.
though. Fred Hammond and Kirk Franklin.
Wow. Wow. Um, I've been thinking about that, man. Okay, I'm gonna be controversial. I'm gonna go with Fred. I Kirk to me is like on a different level, but I find myself the hymns and
Yeah,
I stick with more of what's that the Spirit of
more
David album.
traditional.
I
Yeah.
stick with that more than what you're looking for. You know what I mean? Kirk
Okay. Yeah.
Kirk got the singles.
Yeah.
He got the
This your
album.
boy. This your nephew.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna roll with I'm blessed. We're
Right.
blessed. My jam.
Yes. In the city, in the field.
Okay.
Late in the midnight hour.
And around and around.
Hey.
Man, but I'll tell you one thing. Hold up. Now, one thing only Fred can sing the Spirit of David. When we try to do it at church, we would
Yes.
sing that song.
Man,
I
Jack
would
that thing
dance
all up.
like David, sing like David. They had like a list of things. I said, I don't think David did half the things we was
Yeah.
doing.
Right.
I would jump like that. So jump.
Yeah.
What? This is everybody remixing it. I couldn't stand it.
Yeah. Did David do the keep and shuffle? He let you slide.
Yeah. Is it to the left like that? I said, wait, oh, hold up. Pastor. No. Red flag. Flag on the play. Don't do that. Don't do that. Too much. They be remixing. Maybe out there praise and worship for David didn't do all that.
Right? Yeah. The concert remix.
Yeah, there
Oh, that's
you
funny. And finally, salt or sugar on grits.
go. Salt. I put the bacon in there. I put the bacon, the eggs. I use mine as more of a base for like just bad heart, a bad heart condition. I put the bacon, the eggs, and the cheese. I go salt then
Oh
sweet.
man.
Oatmeal's for the sweet, grits is for the salt. You know what I mean? That's how I roll.
Man. Well, thank you everyone for tuning into this podcast.
Now look, grits and cream of wheat are two different things. When it's cream
Oh,
of wheat,
you're right.
we
Okay.
mixing it up a little bit with the butter, but when
Yeah.
it comes to the grits, it's a little more like it's a it's a working man's food at that point.
Okay,
Yeah,
I got you. Yeah. Don't want all sugary, like just need
yeah,
something to
that's
stick to your bones.
oatmeal sweet. All right. All
Got
day.
it. Oh, that's great. That's great. Steve Harvey once said, remember this: the number one cause of failure in this country is the fear of failure. The number one cause of failure in this country is the fear of failure. When you hear those words, what comes to your mind?
Mm, I try to keep it brief. I mean, I think we're so programmed in life to fear failure and look at failure as something that well, how do I want to say this? We look at failure as almost like an outlier when
Mhm.
failure is truly part of the process of evolution in anything you do in your progress. So when I remember that statement he made, that quote he had, and I think the first thing that came to my mind was Shark Tank because I heard people say the same thing. You got to fail at something. You got to just attempt it. And a lot of times we
Mhm.
want to do things so perfect from the launch that you're afraid to fail, but that's part of the process. You learn from that. So um you got to break the stone down to chisel it, right?
Yeah,
You got to crack the olive to get the oil. Things have to progress like that.
exactly.
I
That's
like
real.
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely. We're gonna be doing these metaphors all day. These analogies are coming through. This is just the beginning. But no,
Yeah, yeah,
that's where I stand with you, man. I like that quote, and you gotta step outside, man, and take that L. It's only gonna
yeah.
make it better, man.
Got to learn from failure. And on the same point, you can't like allow fear to paralyze you. Like so many people are afraid of simply knocking on the door because of what they've conjured up in their imagination is awaiting on the other side, when in reality it could be the greatest blessing on the other side that they would find out if they just knock, you know.
That's honestly that's it. Hey, you can't learn without an L. Oh, we start. I got 1.1. Is it? No, no, no. But it's like, no, you're right, man.
Yeah, yeah,
That's just it. And that's what the risk is all about. A lot of
yeah.
success comes from the risk. And I've never seen God pull me in places where I'm 100% comfortable. I never see God move me across this board of life and it always be the most comfortable, soothing trip. Sometimes I got to go through the mud to come up. I remember one time I told my cousin this. It was something to the effect of um, how pottery is made. It's muddy and it's real
Mm-hmm.
messy, and then after it sits out in the sun, it dries, it becomes a beautiful piece of art. Then you can do things with it, you can mold it from that place, and you can really add your touch to it. And we talked about earlier when you spoke about the arrow as well, man. Like there's phases to this, there's layers to this game.
Yeah.
And so definitely on the other side of all risk and all endeavors, but make sure you're in God's will, because sometimes we do things and we put ourselves in consequential situations, thinking that it's God, but not staying on focus. God will
Mm-hmm.
reveal it to us the right way, and things will play themselves out to where it's tough, but it's not dangerous. It's humbling, not consequential. It's something to grow from, not something that will break you. It'll
Yeah.
humble, not break you. So nothing you cannot bear, right? You never put anything on your heart that you can't bear. So it's definitely that's definitely something to think about, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, that's real. And I gave this episode the title about being a man, and being a man is great, but there are times when it really gets tough. There are almost times when we want to give up. Some are still dealing with issues or trauma from their childhood, and even if you aren't, there's the constant aggravating ways of the enemy always trying to get us to trip up. There's our flesh that we're constantly having to put and keep discipline. It's a lot of work, like really being a man of integrity, being a man of your word, it's a lot of work simply being a good man, let alone a man after God's heart. And I think there's extra like work for us as men because we're the covering of our households. And like, what good is the roof on the house if there's leaks in the roof?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love how God has given this life so much to pull from. Like sometimes I just stop and think, like, so many illustrations in life that you can
Hmm.
pull from.
Yeah.
And I like the metaphor or the simile, right, of the roof, because in a way, one of the biggest joys I ever had as a father was being, or it, as a father currently, right, is being that handyman, is fixing things. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed that. I mean, I don't like paying for it, but I like the ability to grow and
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So when we finally move to our next spot, I'm familiar with the symptoms of a leaky faucet, the symptoms
Hmm.
of this and that, and knowing how to put things together. So in a way, it's like, as a man, you're never going to be perfect. You have to know that you're never going to be perfect as a human being, but understand the symptoms of your shortcomings and the symptoms of challenges. It's 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 that day to day. God's still working on you constantly. You're constantly at work, um, in progress with God. And so you're right, man. We are the covering. There's a lot of responsibility on our roles. Just as we talk as men, a lot of responsibility on our roles. Women would have their conversation, the young people have their conversations, but in this conversation, um, as a covering of our families, I for sure agree with you on that, man. It's a lot of responsibility, especially in times like today. It's a different outlook on the family structure. It's a different place we've come as a society. So it's a lot of challenges, man, on how we define our roles and our purposes in today's world, man, in the name of
Hmm.
the Lord, and as men of God, right? It's a
Yeah.
trip. It's a
Yeah.
trip.
It is. That's and it, like you're saying, it requires a lot of work, but definitely so awesomely worth it. Being able to fight and continually evolve into the best version of ourselves for our
Yeah.
family, and most of all for us, and for God, that we may be pleasing in His eyes. And it's awesome. Like, no matter how rusty a pipe may be, it can still be used to pour water through. And
Mm-hmm.
like, we can still be used no matter what we've been through, as long as we stay in position to be used and to for God to pour in us and through us.
Absolutely. I'm keeping score of all these metaphors we got right now. It's about 5-3. About five. I'm telling you, man, we're gonna be up all night with this, man.
Right.
Brian,
Metaphorically speaking.
look,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm the wrong guest to have for a short episode. We're gonna be here all day, man. I'm telling you, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you, B. For
That's
real,
what's
man.
up.
Real.
And speaking of like a real man, like, everyone loves Superman because he goes around saving, helping people out and fixing their problems. But in my imagination, I kind of think that maybe his cape was really red because of his internal bleeding while he was going from place to place, helping to stop up other people's from bleeding. All the meanwhile, he was internally bleeding, but he was like, as men, we try to toughen up, act like nothing's wrong. And so he used his cape to cover up. And that's why it's red, because of the blood. And it's like,
I feel you.
it's a trip when you really think about it.
Yeah, being vulnerable, I think, is one of the hardest things as a man. It's here comes that controversial statement that's going to get me going viral. But no, it's we have a lot of conversations about the emasculation. We
Mhm.
have a lot of conversations about that machismo, that hyper masculinity. So it's that weird blend where as a man, it's okay to cry, right? That conversation.
Mhm.
Um, the same way we did that comparison of Fritos, Doritos, like, can men cry or do men not cry? Like,
Yeah.
it's one of those
Yeah.
controversial fences we walk. And I know what you mean. That was a time. Superman definitely came from a time as well,
Mhm.
where we really had to hyper focus on men being so strong and having all the answers. And I think we are the generation that comes from that lineage. The men above us, very, uh, very strong, stern, 5 miles in the snow kind of men. And I think this generation, we're just now learning the value of being vulnerable, the
Yeah.
value of being
Transparent.
perfect.
Mhm.
And it's something to definitely grow from. Something we definitely got to talk about generation to generation. How
Yeah.
do you get your son with that sensitivity, with that vulnerability, but still
Mhm.
that same understanding of leadership and what that looks like? Can't be too soft, can't be too hard. It's a
Yeah.
hard line to draw and a hard fence to walk as a father in these times.
Mhm.
It's a challenge. It can be a challenge at times.
It really is, and it just not trying to get emotional or anything, but like just the other day, I was some young guys were looking at my podcast, and they're like, "Man, I want to be like you." I'm like, don't wish to be like me, because you don't know what it took for
Mhm.
me to get where I'm. You don't know what it's still taken for me still to be the person I am. And it's like,
Yeah.
everyone sees like the finished product, but it's like no one sees all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, that prayers, that just different, just it's rough, and it's like,
Yeah.
but by the grace of God, but by the grace of God, for real.
Absolutely, man. Behind the scenes, it's
Yeah.
tough. It's tough. Sometimes as a father, I find myself, it's a burden, man. It's a burden that you carry. It's not, I don't want to say it's a burden. That puts it in a negative light. It's a task.
Heavyweight, yeah.
Yeah, it's a heavy weight. It's not a
Mhm.
burden. Being a father is not a burden, and it shouldn't be to anybody. But it can be, circumstances. I don't want to pick on anybody. In circumstances, it can be a burden to deal with some things, but it is a heavy task. It's a heavy weight on our shoulders.
Yeah.
And how to pick and choose times when to be strong and when to be vulnerable.
Hmm.
Um, I'm right there with you in how to be somebody else. I mean, I
Yeah.
always look to, it's funny. a lot of times as you look for heroes, you know what I'm
Mhm.
finding, man? Social
Yeah,
media, these windows we have to people's lives, it's so hard to find heroes that are so consistent that you can really lean on. You know, when I was a kid, it was like Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King, and
yeah, yeah,
JFK. And then like you read all these stories about imperfections of everybody. And it's really hard to say, I want to be like you, because you may end up being me too'd or canceled, and I don't want to be a part of that.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you really have to sit and focus on what God has for you. You really do. Um, it's
That's
just,
real.
you know,
Yeah,
it's the underlying thread of our culture that ultimately always comes back to how God has something for each of us individually. You know,
yeah.
it's just there, man. It's embedded in who we are as humans. We are drawn to God by default, you know. And
Mhm.
now I think this whole social media thing, there's the good and the bad. But one of the underlying threads of it is we always have to come back and find ourselves as individuals. And hopefully
Mhm.
that leads people to understand that God has a purpose for each of us, you know, one by one, man. So
Yeah,
you're
that's
right.
real.
You're right.
It's so real, and it's like, as I was saying, like just to not only get to the point where I'm today, but stay at that point. There's a lot I have to battle through that. I just keep, between like me and God. And so, like the young guys I was telling, I was like, don't wish to be me. The best person you could ever be is the best version of yourself. So that's the person you need to strive to be like, because that's, because like God has placed gifts in all of us that we need each other. So if I'm over here trying to be something and I'm not, then someone may miss out on the gift that was originally put in me. So we got to be stay in our lane, so we can not only tap into the inner gifts, but like distribute them and walk in them and flow in them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
Ditto.
that's, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you're right on, man. I stamped that, stamp with approval with that.
That's real. And the awesome thing is that with God's help, we men can rise to the occasion of being the godly man of wisdom, integrity, and love that God has called us to be, and that God is, and that our families need to be. So, like on that note, I honor you, brother, and I salute you for being the role model and for the example of what stepping up to the plate looks like, and for what walking in your calling looks like, and for what being a man of integrity and being an awesome father and husband look like. So like I salute you, like for real, for real.
Hey, I appreciate that, man. It's you know, it's I appreciate that. It means a lot. It means a lot. I've had a controversial statement number two. It's not easy, you know, being with somebody and maintaining it and raising a family. It's not easy. Not in the sense where, you know, I turn over my wife, I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not that. I'm in love, I'm happy, I'm
yeah,
satisfied by all means. It's just a matter of the companionship and, you know, holding this thing down. It's like it's like Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
Um, when Tom left, it's not as easy as he thought it would be to keep that thing going. You really do need a dynamic duo to raise these young people in these times, man.
yeah,
And I have a lot of people in my life that's not easy to acquire, and it's also not easy to maintain. And I think a lot of times, and you know, it's tough, man. It's tough to hold it down, man, and to keep it together. And I guess I keep picking the wrong words. I don't say it's tough. It's a task. That's
yeah,
the
yeah,
word. It's a task. I love my marriage. I'm happily married. It's just a
yeah,
matter of, you know, it's a task, man, to also not only maintain it for yourself and with your wife, but also for my children to see
mm,
an example and for them to see our ups and our downs. Um, you know, it's they get the behind the scenes, man. It's not always pretty, it's not always ugly, but it's a task, man.
yeah,
So I appreciate the being acknowledged, man. As they would say nowadays, giving me my flowers. Everyone says, I'm giving you your flowers. I'm like, what is who makes these new terms, man? Who makes these new terms? Here's
yeah,
your here's what's that from prom? Here's your
yeah, yeah, yeah. Your
corsage.
corsage.
Yeah, here's your I'm giving you your corsage. I'm like, When does that hashtag come available? But I appreciate it, man. And shout out to all those who are the blended families, the newlyweds, the hold it downs for 50
Mhm.
years, and those who are courting and going that direction and building. It's important. God, Adam and Eve, man, he meant for this to be a companionship and for us to find that partner to
Yeah,
work things through. So I'm thankful for this opportunity and this platform that God has given me for my children, man. I'm thankful
that's
for it
right.
every day.
That's real. That's real. And speaking on that, let's talk a little about a little bit about married life. How
Okay.
long have you been married?
My wife's looking at it right now. I've been married for 20 years and happy. No, 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 no. She's like, you better say something good. Don't you mess this up. No, it's been we've been married, man, for almost 18 years, man.
Wow.
I'm old, bro. I don't realize how old something's missing. No, yeah, look, I got married and the line was right here. I got married, man. The line was right here in sharp
Ah,
and look, it was like bow, bow. Look, 10 years later, just digress. I said, man,
woo!
20 years, I'm locked in for life. No, it's it's you edit that scene out. No, it's been 17 going on 18 years, bro.
Wow.
Of just being together. And it's been a blessing, man. It's
Yeah.
happiest I could ever be, man.
That's good.
Absolutely.
Major congrats. And on that note, like, how have you and your wife been able to successfully navigate the different seasons that not only marriage bring, but the different seasons in life while growing at the same time? Because I'm sure you both are a better version of yourselves now than you were when you got married. So, like, how were you able to, navigate all the changes and all that?
Man, where do I start? My pastor, shout out to uh, Temecula Imani Temple, Pastor James Mason. Shout out to Pastor James Mason
Yeah.
and Sister Iwana Mason and the Church of God in Christ that raised me up and was the anchor in my life and spiritual growth. He was the pastor that married me and my wife,
Mm-hmm.
and through our counseling, we really take simple information for granted. We really take common sense and simple single step things for granted. He just looked at us. He said, "Got to pray together every night."
Hmm.
I'm like, "Okay, Pastor. I'm
Yeah.
glad you checked that box." He was like, "No, Brandon, you got to pray together every night and really, explore that." I think a lot of times we limit prayer to a bedtime story with God. And we
Hmm.
don't look at it as a constantly active an act. It's in action at all times. You're constantly in conversation with the Lord. And I think having that, it leaves God in the conversation in everything you do. So when
Hmm.
you stop praying, you stop having conversation. You stop
Wow.
having conversation, and when you and your wife are interacting, God's not in the conversation. That's when the fights start. That's when the arguments start to break out because God is not holding us accountable. And the things that
Hmm.
we're talking about are now flesh, my needs, your needs, what I need, what you want. And I remember I wrote a verse, man. One of my verses, I said, fussing and we fighting. Now I'm out like Nixon, right? Like all of a
Yeah.
sudden we breaking apart and things are falling apart. And I
Hmm.
feel like when you're in active engagement with God, in that constant conversation with God,
Hmm.
everything that happens from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. is accountability, understanding the partnership. One thing that did help us, we had a low point. Man, working hard, bro. If I can go on tangents and talk about the jobs I've worked and the jobs she's worked and the different, lifetime movie specials we've lived through, man.
Yeah.
My mother bought me a book, The Five Love Languages. I buy this book for every new couple. I buy this book for every couple that I fall into and get to know and hang out with and associate with. And they're like, oh, it's our anniversary or it's my birthday. The five love languages.
Yeah.
Learning how to communicate to somebody through their love language is just the ultimate way to compromise and to meet somebody halfway. And
Yeah.
and knowing that time or touch or gift giving. You know, you can
Yeah.
mess up, but when I give
Yeah.
you flowers, why is it not registering back? Well, when I learned that her love language was this, she understands that I'm trying to meet her in that place versus just
Mhm.
the act of saying sorry or the act of, trying to be the perfect man. When you meet them there, that
Yeah.
has carried us a long way. Brian, it almost reset our relationship because we have been for the first like 5 years living in this world of I'm the man, you're the woman, and not understanding why there's so much tension in that. I was like, if you listen to Beyonce, like, why is she so independent minded and like won't let this work? But it was actually just because we're living in our own zones.
Mhm.
We got the love language. We started praying together. Shout out to Prince of Peace, Church of God in Christ as well, Pastor Overseer Michael Watkins. We had a lot of time with him.
Yeah.
We'll get some counseling as well and work through his church and kind of build up in that community. And it helped us a lot to get on our feet, man. And so that has really built a strong brick by brick foundation for us to.
Mhm.
Um,
Wow.
that's
It's
the.
awesome that you mentioned that because just in the last video, I was actually talking about languages, and
Yeah,
you know how it is when we go to another country, we get all excited, we think about and plan where we're going to go eat, and we'll even take a couple classes to learn how to talk, especially if they speak another language in that country, and
that's
we
good.
learn their dialect. And so when it comes to marriage, we have to learn the dialect of our marriage. We can't go into marriage still speaking the me language. We have to, um, change how we approach things and change, our language.
And adjust. You're right. There's some things you cannot do in different regions. This is not always what it means here, and
Yeah.
this is not always what it means here. And there's certain systems and etiquette that you follow, and
Yeah.
how you talk to women, how you talk to children, how you talk to each other. You're right. And when you enter into the different world of marriage, or even being a father,
Hmm.
sometimes we think it's limited to just our spouse. You're raising three seeds that you're investing into.
Hmm.
And sometimes we think, oh, because I'm an oak tree, I'm raising an oak tree. I have
Hmm.
a bamboo, I have a ficus, I have a bird of paradise. I have different plants that
Yeah.
require different vegetation and different
Wow.
ways of really like raising. So you have to not only learn the love language of your wife, but you have this beautiful garden, like a garden of Eden, right? There's a
Yeah.
garden of different vegetation and how to get them to bear fruit. I have an apple tree, a peach tree, a strawberry. There's different purposes that God has for them. I can't just say I was raised one way. I
Yeah.
have to do it this way with all three. No, man, they're three different kids, and it's like that's another element. We are just a beautiful a greenhouse of personalities and
Yeah.
purpose from through God's eyes, man. It's a trip. It's a trip. So you're right. Language is everything. Knowing how to deal with people in their spaces is very big. It's very important.
It is, and takes time to learn the language, because if you don't and you go to another country, you say something wrong.
Yeah.
That's the end of you. Nice knowing you.
You send over letters. Somebody come and get me, please. I'm
Yeah.
stuck with life, man. Yeah, you in trouble. I'm telling you.
Yeah. So it's real important. And like when you speak about sacrifice, like there's people share their marriages and looks all nice on the outside, but there was a lot of sacrifice on the inside. It reminds me of like ballerinas. They look all nice and pretty, elegantly gliding, but in order for that to happen, ballerinas have bloody toes.
Man.
For real.
There's some ballerinas you just put on blast, Brian. They're not happy about the fortune they spent at the getting a pedicure, man. Man, them toes busted. No, you're
Yeah.
right. It's
Toes busted, but that spin was on point. But the toes, toes, yeah.
law just, you know what I'm saying? Them things is all just knuckles, man, knuckles. But she got that perfect bow. Just man.
Uh,
What they saying, liar, liar, the claw. You know, them things is
yeah.
back to the locker room, man. We gonna get a whole bunch of thumbs down for that from some ballerinas. I don't like that comment. I don't like what he said. Turn it off. No, you're right. You're right.
But yeah, it's true. You know, there's a lot of blood and sacrifice behind the scenes. And speaking of sacrifice, like, you know, you got married, like people like to dress up the altar and stuff, but when you think about it, things die at the altar. So you arrived at the altar in one state, but then when you left the altar, you didn't leave as you are still at the altar. You left as one with your wife. So, you know, the altar, that's yeah.
Absolutely. What they say, you won't leave here like you came in Jesus' name.
Yes.
Down the press, afflicted, sick or lame. I'm telling you, man. You we going back on Sunday, 9 a.m., bro. No, no, for real.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna watch this and go. I got like 3 references out of him today, but no, it's you're right. It's a change in who you are. Um, I'm not dogging my boys, but you know, you do change. You do change. They'll say a whole different change. You was, but no, it's just
Yeah, yeah.
it does change. I think. Side note, I think I really did change a lot. I was I was the boy. I was hanging with my boys, man, but I felt something. I felt a special connection to my wife, and it did change me from ground zero. We was dating for about 2 weeks. I was like, this is the one. This is where it's going. But no, you do change. You have to change. You have to
Mhm.
find. You have to shed. You pull that layer back. There you
Yeah,
go. You pull a layer from
there you
yourself.
go.
You put that skin, that layer down, and you walk out renewed, something
Yeah.
different. And it happens every so often, not
Mhm.
every year on your anniversary, but there's episodes and chapters of this game. And game is a term for this experience.
Mhm.
This experience of married life. There's just different chapters. Kids bring different chapters.
Mhm.
Arguments bring different chapters. How you respond to those challenges, paying bills, getting your check in the bank and going, that's not mine. But like there's different
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, different jobs, different school, credentials, growth, getting older, health, different things create different chapters that pull different layers back to this life, man. And
Yeah.
all these layers, there's a lot of tears, man. There's a lot of growth, good tears, bad tears, a lot of growth. So you're definitely changing, ever evolving.
Yeah, and there's definitely growth. Like a couple who's been married a year or 2 years can't compare their marriage to, you know, someone who's been married 50 years. You know, you can't despise the small beginnings because when you think about it, within every small acorn is a whole forest. Within one acorn is a forest.
Wow. Absolutely.
Yeah,
As small as that, man, you know? That's wild, man. That's wild.
yeah.
Wow. You're right. You're right.
Within every acorn is a oak tree, and within every oak tree is you know, is a forest. So I don't need an oak tree. Just give me the acorn. I'm cool. You know, we'll be.
Absolutely. 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 She met me. I was an acorn, brother. She met me. I look back at myself. I was like, you were with me? You stayed with me on that? Wow. I was a terrible acorn. I was a mess. She fixed me up right, man. She fixed me up right.
That's right. That's right. And got the right one. That yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So how do you like balance between marriage time, family time, ministry, wifey time, and like time for yourself? There's only 24 hours in each day, unless you know God bless you with more hours. But like,
You know, man, we're currently in this here's the new chapter. The new chapter is the businesses. The new chapter is teenage kids.
hmm,
This
hmm,
current chapter is teenagers, toddler, new environment,
hmm,
We are isolated out here. We have family, but we left the comfort of the familiar.
Yeah.
You have, your job, her job, and we have our businesses and we have our endeavors. So this is how you know it's of God. One symptom that I can say that I know it's of God is how it builds a legacy and it doesn't divide the legacy.
Hmm.
It builds upon it. A lot of times I got to talk to my young men out there. I'll talk on behalf of men. You have these endeavors and these things that put your family in compromising positions and you think it's all about God. And sometimes I be careful. I was never that person, Brian, who like when you would hear a celebrity how he became a millionaire, Tyler Perry, he's like, oh man, I was homeless and slept in my car. I was like,
Yeah.
well, I don't think I can do that. I
Yeah.
got these kids, man. I can't sacrifice that much. But what I'm trying to say is what we're doing right now is we had to talk about this literally, Brian, like 2 days ago with the family. We sat down with my kids and we've just been talking about how busy we've been in this chapter of our lives.
Mhm.
So we did in that discussion, we talk a lot as a family. We have devotionals every night. I encourage fathers and parents out there to sit with their kids and have devotional. Devotional is not you sit down and you thump them with the Bible. No, the Bible
Yeah.
has to be an active, engaging experience. It
Hmm.
can't be, I'm a teacher. It can't be something you just sit and lecture on math. How do you apply it in life is when you engage people. So you don't just sit down with your kids and tell them, open up to Matthew and memorize the book of Matthew. No, you
Yeah.
have to engage it and make it applicable. And so what we do every night is before we go to bed, we pray together. We talk about the day. How are things going? We unpackage the day. And that's when the discipline, that's when the directions happen. That's when the spiritual guidance comes in, the vulnerability opens up. And
Hmm.
we're like, you guys, in this chapter of our lives, you guys see that me and your mom are very busy. We're
Hmm.
launching something, we're running a couple businesses. And you guys probably think that we're just doing what? And my son's like, to make money? I said, no, man. Christmas is down the line. Leave me alone. We're not talking about that. He's like, to make money, Dad, to pay
Yeah.
for the rent,
Legacy.
mortgage. I said, no. I said, actually, this business is used to fund those endeavors so
Hmm.
that when those endeavors are active, you have a legacy. This is all part of a continuum. So as the kids understand that your role is to motivate me, let me know that all my investments are reaping good grades, are
Yeah.
reaping disciplined children, and then you see your father work hard because he knows that he's handing something down to greatness, and then we
Hmm.
move this thing to continuum. And as you see that intertwining grow, now we have a cohesive vision. You wonder why you see so many controversial statement number three. You wonder why you see so many people who are so successful and things explode. People, I'm not going to talk about celebrities who play football for an extra season, but there are situations where you would think that there's just the perfect situation, big house, lots of money, then it blows up. Well, because people have their ambitions and the ambitions don't align with the family legacy, and
Hmm.
those things can break. And what happens when a tree's vines break? It just starts to die, bro. Maybe
Yeah.
that tree might be big, Brian. Metaphor number 18. But if that thing is split and broken, it
Yeah.
just dies slowly. Next thing you
Wow.
know, check this out, B. Check this out, B. We're gonna be here for 2 hours. When we got
Okay.
we moved into our home, I looked at my tree. We had a tree in front of our yard.
Hmm.
It was full of life and it just happened to die, right? It died.
Hmm.
They owe me on that. I'm paying on the HOA. But no, I called a landscaper over and I was like, hey man, can you take a look at this? He's like, that tree's been dead for some time.
Hmm.
These little ropes that hold it up. You would think the thing is alive.
Hmm.
It's been dead for, he took a branch, snapped it off. This thing's been dead for like a month and a half. You would never know.
Wow.
And so you have these marriages where you think the tree is so tall and strong,
Wow. Yeah.
fortified. It's been dead for years,
Wow.
bro. It's been dead for years. It just took someone to snap off a branch or a storm to kick it over for you to realize how dusty and dead and useless that tree has been the whole time. And you wonder
Wow.
why legacies are broken, dog. They're broken. Controversial statement. Hey, I'm just a regular guy, right?
Yeah.
it blows up and these things fall apart. And so if you're not doing things in your family of God, you will have a symptom because it's not cohesive. In
Right.
fact, Ryan, hold up, bro. Eve came from Adam's rib. God has always made it for these things to be cohesive.
Mm-hmm.
He has never made for the legacy of the family to be divided by your ambition and your ambition. That's a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
He pulled the rib from the man so that everything that happens is cohesive. So
Mm-hmm.
if my vision aligns with your vision, these things will connect to build a legacy. Those are the symptoms of something you know that's of God. And we're finding in these times of the millionaires, the recessions, the inflations, and chasing the money and the dollar,
Mm-hmm.
that so many relationships are built upon ambition of getting those numbers. And it's breaking these trees, these family trees. They're breaking down and they're dying, bro. They're dying. And it's that's my 2 cents. I think I've had 3 controversial statements that are getting me canceled on YouTube. So I need to be careful. I don't want to get they turned off my YouTube page one time. I
What?
made videos. I made videos of how to tutor people. And I got online one day and I was like, YouTube? Like you posted content. I said, I was telling people how to solve math problems. Look, I'll send you the email. They sent me back. They're like, "Yeah, you're right." I said, "Well, why'd you turn my page off for like 3 months?"
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Wow.
Because I want to show you how to solve rational expressions. But
Wow.
it was crazy. But so yeah, man,
That's
just
yeah,
that's my 2 cents on the family tree, man. You know,
man. That's that's real. And on that note, like I think about older generations and how
yeah,
they have you hear older people say, you got to make time for time, and they knew how to. You have to make time for time because the tree needs nurturing, it
yeah,
needs caring for, it needs love, and from each generation should still be able to carry that down to make time to be intentional about like pouring into a tree. It's not just a tree, but it's in a sense the version of you. So when you go on to be with the Lord, that version of you is still here and
absolutely,
continues. As
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. That's true.
that's real.
I like that. Yeah, man.
And man, you're doing some awesome things. You're a teacher, and so you have a company called Haskins Learning Center.
I appreciate that, man. Yes, indeed. More flowers.
Here, yes, yes.
You know, okay, so I listen to a lot of different podcasts, man.
Mhm.
And I can't lie. This sister had a really good podcast. It's called The Side Hustle. If I can remember where it's at. But she had a podcast and it was always about taking what you do that you're good at and people want you to people aspire for you to do with them and work with them. And
Mhm.
if they're willing to pay you for a gift, that's your side hustle. I mean, I'm a teacher, man, and it fell in my lap. My story, this pathway fell into my lap, and I rolled into my destiny. That's the best way. It fell into my destiny this way, and I have been blessed just to work with students and to work with them one on one.
Mhm.
And people come to me, man. It's not even about me having to go out and it's the word of mouth from people that work with me that travel around, and it's opened up a lot of doors for me and my family to work virtually. COVID really exploded the opportunities.
Yeah.
The challenge was always balancing the influx of clientele and being a good father, but there's been a wonderful balance of late, and I'm just hoping that it continues that way. But it's been going for about 7 years now, man.
Wow.
7 years just working with
Congrats.
people.
That's what's
But
up.
hey, man, and it's we finally found the next step is to take it and to expand it, to maximize. So you always scale up. You
Mhm.
scale up. So now we're scaling up. We're taking it to the next level, to case management, and it's been a blessing, man. It's been a blessing. So it's virtual online tutoring. We do things from individual one-on-ones, small groups, summer enrichment, um, teach everything K to 12, utilize online programs. We have homework help where we just work with students on what they're working on, connect with their teachers,
Hmm.
advocate and partner with schools, not advocate because we're looking for a lawsuit. We
Yeah.
partner with
Yeah.
schools and teams of teachers and build up students because that's more important than making a check. Problem solving, not trying to sue people.
Yeah.
And we have subject support where students are just trying to build up their skill sets. We make an individualized plan with them. My experience in IEPs allows me to work with people one to one and really develop academic goals. And
Mhm.
we're doing great things, man. And we're looking to scale up this coming phase. So we're excited about the next step.
Man, that's what's up, making a difference, you know.
Oh, yeah. There's been a lot of no's in the process. A lot of no's. You think that sometimes you'll put a proposal together, you'll put
Mm,
an idea together, and you will think that you have it set. You watch
mm,
Shark Tank, you've watched Start, you're ready
mm.
to do it just like Kevin O'Leary, and
Yeah.
you walk in the
Yeah.
room and God says, the hearts are hardened, and this is not the pathway. But the
Mm.
experience of hearing the no prepares you for the yes, makes you appreciate
Exactly.
yes, makes
Yes. Yeah.
you hungrier for it. So it's a good time, good season.
That's real. And on that note, like, the word nothing, of course, it has a bad connotation to it. But when you think about it, nothing is what can be an inspiration to you. Because when you think about like a land builder or an architect, when they see a lot of nothing, a actual lot with nothing on it, it's like that's when it starts coming. So it's like, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
when it's like God giving you a blank canvas and there's
yeah, it is.
nothing on it, but that's room for you to your creativity and dreams and ideas to be put on it. So
Man. So, you know what? Some of my favorite when I was in my sketch, I sketch. I haven't sketched in some time, but my favorite uh, palettes or canvases to sketch on were plywood. I would take like desks and the desk where you didn't root that would break or something. I take the back side of it, and plywood is just shredded pieces of whatever compacted
mm,
into this thing, and the visions would come to me, and that was my best art because it was just like I could see it
yeah,
clearly through all the different shreddings of what was not, of
mm,
all the nothings. And that
yeah,
would be like my best sketches, man. I'm like, you know what? That's kind of how visions are. You got to have some no's and some nothings, man. You're
mm,
right there to really be inspired to do more, to be hungry
yeah.
for it, to really want it. And you're right, man. That's it. That's it. Nothing is something. Nothing is something, man. Absolutely. Nothing is
Yeah,
something.
yes. What's that song? You maybe I'm thinking of something else. You can't get something if you have nothing or something.
Is that Earth, Wind, and Fire? Is that Earth, Wind, and Fire? Put that in the comments down below. Who's
Right? I don't know if that's Earth, Wind, and Fire, Schoolhouse Rocks, or
yeah?
something,
It might be the Isley Brothers. You never know. But
right? Ooh. They'll run their eyes will come.
there it is. There it is.
Mr. Biggs.
Man, they still making music, man. They doing versus battles now.
For
They're doing.
real. It sounded like
We need some gospel verses, but gospel verses end up being a big worship fest. So they don't reverse. They're
right.
like, I'm gonna verse you, Yolanda Adams versus CeCe Wines. Then they just start worshiping. I'm like, well, I can't vote for this.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is an amazing experience,
yeah.
you know?
Maverick City and just yeah.
Yeah. Maverick City versus DC Talk. Let's see what's up, man. Let's see what happens. Yeah.
Right, just
Who got all the hits?
yeah. By the end of that, everyone be prostrate, just
Yeah, 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 yeah. Who wants to vote? They're like, explain out. I'm
going
telling
behind the veil, staying there, like, where you at?
you. Hold up. Actually, Christians, man, we always originate things. Okay. We used to have tag team preachers. That was like preaching verses.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
had Noel Jones and Juanita Bynum. It was like
yeah.
a verses, and they be taking the same message and they be working it, man. And
Right.
they, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Juanita started preaching, man, and you start trying to get your life right. Juanita Bynum would have some tapes. We used to watch some tapes of Juanita Bynum. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
I'm
Real
not
talk.
living right, man. I get myself together. Noel
Man.
Jones, man. Oof. Get
Man.
him. Jesse Duplantis.
Yeah. Yeah. Man.
He's still going. Jesse's still
Yeah.
going. He was
Smiling
80 when
just
I was 10. You
right.
know, I don't know how old he is, man. Those tapes being recycled. He's still doing it, man. God bless him.
Yeah. They on it. They doing it. Uh, so like finally, well, first of all, how can people reach out to you if they are interested in Haskins Learning Center?
You know what? We are simply just connected through an email, man. We are Haskins Learning Center at gmail.com. You just simply reach out. We go from there, man. We did the website thing. We did the online platform. We are on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
We just found that the word of mouth has been the way it's been moving. You know, we want to
Mhm.
definitely just keep it genuine, authentic. But we are coast to coast. We have clients that range from the West Coast in California all the way to the East Coast to the Carolinas, man. So we are seeing different faces. So Haskins Learning Center at gmail.com.
Mhm.
We're on LinkedIn. Just jump on in, send a message. We'll be there to work with you and make something work, and also
Mhm.
to guide you. We also believe in sowing into people. So, God doesn't bless things, and He won't take things away if you edify others. And you're trying to find the right pathway. It's just a
Mhm.
way of seeding into people, and those things always come back to bless. So that's just how God's been working for me. So you need answers. We got we're problem solvers over here. So
I like that. That's real.
absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Definitely. And finally, if there is a young man out there who's listening to this or watching this who maybe have an awesome marriage and who may be walking in his greatness like you are, and he's doing big things, but he may be having a hard time trying to balance everything. What's a word of encouragement or advice you would give him?
Hmm. Patience and keep God in the mix. It's a season. Things are seasonal. There are seasons. God, like I said, God illustrates so many things through our lives, and
Mhm.
there's a season for snow, and then those seasons will melt away and create the most beautiful spring.
Mhm.
Sometimes those seasons of spring get so hot, you're living hot like summer, man, and things
Yeah.
are flying through, and then things burn up and they start to fall. There's seasons in our lives.
Mhm.
So if that young man out there who is, young father raising kids and he's having some trouble with his marriage, understand the love languages. I can't express that enough. Understand that. Work those types of activities through with your spouse and with your partner so that
Mhm.
you two can find that understanding of one another. The role of the husband, the role of the wife, understand those things. The role of a father as you seed into your children, um, or whoever you are looking over at that time, nieces and nephews and your family unit.
Mhm.
But keep God first, pray together. And like I said, prayer is an active experience. It's not bedtime stories by the bedside and listening to messy music and
Yeah.
watching
Yeah.
messy things and not following
Yeah.
with the word. It's an active experience where God is actively in your life. So patience, um, keeping God first in all that you do, and keep prayer active, keep things God centered. You'll be fine. It's just a season. I guarantee that.
That's right. Awesome words of encouragement. And just, there's a season to everything. And it's as you were talking about earlier, chapters and chapters are always different, but when they're put together, it makes a beautiful book. And you're able to as you go through the totality of the book, see how, as it says, that all things were working together for your good. So that's a blessing.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, Brian, the final count is 46-28 metaphor count. There's 46 to I think 33. I lost count after 20. The metaphors got out of hand today, but we held it under 50. So we
Wow.
did.
Okay. We on it. We on it.
Yes,
Gotta do part two, a sequel, a
absolutely, man.
metaphorical sequel.
Absolutely, absolutely. And next time I come through, I'm gonna have a background. I seen some of your guests, man. They got some nice backgrounds. Who sets
Yeah.
that up? LED brother had the LED lights. I'm like, I wasn't prepared. I was like, I should go buy me at least a 6-footer. And you be sitting talking to me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
you can try to copy that, get a little background.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah,
All
all
good though.
good.
It's an awesome world. It's a
Absolutely.
great thing. Awesome platform. But
Hey,
yeah, thank you again so much for taking the time to come on. Always remember, to the world you may be one person, but to one person you may be the world, for real.
absolutely. And Brian, thank you for what you're doing. We need more positive, God-centered, God-focused accountability, credibility. We need more things like this in our social media space. So we give you your flowers today.
Thank you.
And congratulations on multiple seasons, consistency, multiple episodes, and guests that are sharing this word with other people in a positive way. Ladies and gentlemen, what you see is what you get with Brian. Known this man, oh my goodness, man, almost 20 years
Yeah.
plus. When he was a
Yeah.
teenager walking around with the denim jacket, don't he rocked the denim jacket on you. And back when I had a fade, right? So I know this guy for a long time. Love this dude, man, like a brother. And he is my brother. And glad that we're still staying connected, man. But this is what you see is what you get with Brian. You get the stamp of approval from me, brother. Appreciate you. Love you, man.
Appreciate you. All love.
Absolutely.
All love. Well, I know you guys have definitely, truly been blessed by this. Definitely feel free to share. And you know how it is sometimes when you're watching a movie, sometimes you got to see the movie a second time to get more things out that you didn't get the first time. So if you got to watch this again, then so be it. A whole bunch of nuggets and awesome jewels dropped. I thank God again for my bro Brandon Haskins, and thank y'all always for rocking and rolling with me. I strive to bring you the best from God's heart. That's why I call this podcast, as well as a podcast bakes books, the podcast that obedience built. And this is truly a testimony of what God can do when we give him our yes. So as always, this is BDP, Brian David Porter, living in purpose, on purpose, intentionally. Until next time, love y'all to life. Y'all be blessed.
Amen.